Time to wake up, feel the warmth of the sun shining through. Music and laughter are everywhere. This is a dream that must come true. Good morning, America. Open your eyes. Don't let those clouds disturb your mind.
Let me welcome you all to Atlanta. This is a good city, and we're grateful to have you here because you're good people. We're grateful to your presence also because you'll probably leave about $10 million here. And I collect the taxes on that. And so have a good time, and let's make sure that we make America what you have worked to make America all of your lives. Thank you very, very much.
The bands played, the delegates clapped, and it was truly a time to celebrate.
Oh, say, can you see?
100 years ago, May 5th, 1888, here in Atlanta, Georgia, 19 brave machinists met in secrecy in a southern railway pit and emerged a united force of democratic intent, determined to be recognized. They asked for little, but gave much to generations of working men and women. Today, a century later, the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers have numbered more than 1 million members. They embrace brothers and sisters in union and trade associations around the globe, and every 4 years elect delegates to convene in its continuing commitment to fulfill the democratic intent of those founding forefathers.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And it's with great pleasure I turn the gavel over for this great convention to our international president, Brother Whippensinger.
Fine job. We do make a difference. We are on board. We are the IAM, and we have behind us 100 proud years to prove our presence and provide a launch pad for propulsion into our second century of greatness. We embark as an integral and essential participant in humankind's long journey called progress. As trade unionists, we are today a distinct minority at a distinct disadvantage in the global economy. And you've heard me say it time after time after time. If our employers want our cooperation and a love-in on the shop floor, then why do they rape us on the fainting couch of job blackmail and concessions and make book with the Reaganites outside in the political economy at large? And I would quote what the U.S. Catholic bishops have to say about this phenomenon. Workers rightly reject calls for less adversarial relations when they are a smokescreen for demands that labor make all the concessions. And to that I simply say, case closed. You put it all together. And the Reagan right-wing attack on the working people and their unions has given us a polarized society characterized by class privilege. And on a purely personal note, since this is the final time that I'll be rendering this type of a report to you, never let it be said that the Wimpesinger administration failed to do everything it could conceive of to thoroughly prepare the IAM to weather the present and be poised to seize decisively and aggressively every opportunity that I am absolutely confident will come our way in the future. We are ready for our journey into another proud century. So let's roll up our sleeves and go to work, vowing to preserve that which we have accomplished up to now and building upon it for the future. Let our efforts justify and culminate in one hell of a happy birthday party. So let me now declare this 32nd and 100th anniversary convention of the International Association of Machinists duly open for all business lawfully brought before. Chair will now recognize the General Secretary Treasurer for a reading of the convention call. Brother Ducey.
Official call for the 32nd convention.
While reading the official call from its Grand Lodge in Washington, D.C., for this, the 32nd IAM Convention, the General Secretary Treasurer and members of the Executive Council reflect the tone of self-discipline and respect for the inalienable rights guaranteed to each and every member under the IAM Constitution.
Do you want a division of the House on the main motion?
No, we didn't vote yet on the main motion. I said on the amendment, I call division of the House because I don't have a chance to call for division of the House all the way from back from there.
Very well, Delegate Perez. Let me say that it's my judgment that that decision has already been made. But in order that we can get this convention on a harmonious note and get the business underway, I will take a division of the House on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand.
This initial display of just and due recognition given to one lone dissenting voice among more than 2,000 delegates who journeyed from 2 nations to attend this historic occasion exemplifies the unifying strength which propelled the fighting machinists through their first century of struggle and prepares them to face the battles of the next.
The division of the House discloses that there are 410 yes, 1,069 no. The amendment has lost. On the main motion, the report of the committee, which is to adopt the rules, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And all those opposed? The ayes have it, and such will be the order. The rules are adopted.
I might take a little bit long, but when I attended my first union meeting, I was put out of order. What I did, I went to the library and got a book in parliamentary procedure. I got the bylaws and the constitution of my union. And for about 3 months, I attended every meeting. When I felt I was ready, I started calling points of order. Let me tell you, Brother Wimpesinger, within 3 months, I was an officer of that lodge, and I have been an officer ever since. So like you say, you don't go and hit your head against the wall. You work from within.
And within meeting rooms such as this, individual voices bring their grievances and recommendations before members of select committees.
And this is not a criticism, but just a fact.
Hearing hundreds of resolutions ranging from new technology to child daycare, submitted by hundreds of IAM lodges and the Executive Council. It is the committee's responsibility to maintain the democratic unity of the convention by reviewing those resolutions and then present their recommendations to the delegates in a coherent and judicial manner, accessible for debate by one and all.
Proposition 26, our Placid Harbor Education Center, found at page 59 of your booklet.
And I would call attention to the fact that this delegation has far and away been the most generous, based on all the reports I get from the booths and the various departments, has far and away been the most generous in the history of this union.
And a visit to the booths in the exhibit area not only shows IAM's dedicated involvement in many social and political activities, but reveals a strong financial investment in its future. This scale model of the soon-to-be constructed, state-of-the-art, architecturally acclaimed IAM headquarters building will provide swifter and more efficient services to its members.
In the continuing quest for economic justice, fairness and dignity for workers, the officers and members of the IAM voiced their solid support for Moses Mayakiso, and this ad that appeared in the South African papers was signed by your president and your secretary-treasurer. And metal workers in other parts of the world are looking for your support.
Mr. President, fellow delegates, it is indeed an honor and a pleasure to be here representing New Zealand.
Speakers from around the world in many walks of life also journeyed to this 100th anniversary of the IAM to congratulate, enlighten, and encourage this great union and its leadership for its past, present, and future struggle against economic indignity and social injustice in the workplace.
I believe in fighting for that brave new world that I used to dream about when I was a sophomore in college during the Great Depression. Einstein said, the people must take their destiny into their own hands. I believe we will.
You are the real America, and all we have to do is educate some of the people in the White House that America is here in the mines, at the shops, and everywhere else, and not at the gala in the backyard of the White House.
What we need is to create an economic order in this country which sees that the person at the center of that order is not the bank, is not the corporation, but it's a human being. And that economic order is designed to serve that human being, not vice versa. We are not cogs in a wheel of some mysterious economy designed to serve the interests of bankers or brokers.
International corporations do not have a sense of morality. They do not have a sense of social justice. They do not have ethics. Only when they get caught are they humble, and then they plead for a sentence that gets them off lightly if indeed they are caught.
And this union has been on every single picket line. And this union has rallied to the call of the office of the President of the Congress every time the phone was picked up. And this union, yes, suffered on some of those picket lines. But I want to tell you, that crowd got the message. You can beat us, you can put us in jail, but there will never be enough, and we will not walk backwards for the government of Canada or anyone else.
It has not always been easy. Go back and read the story. Lockouts, injunctions, yellow dog contracts, beatings, physical brutality. I remember as a boy in Memphis when the Memphis police force beat down labor union organizers like they were dogs or wild animals in the street. I remember reading the stories when they said, don't come to work on Monday if you can't work on Sunday. I remember the stories of the sweatshops. People gave their very lives in order that we might be here. Let us never forget where we came from. Let us not get so concerned about our privileges and our prerogatives and our ranks that we forget that the struggle has been long, hard, and bloody, and as your president has very well said, it may get hard again. When you close the curtain of that voting booth, look back on where you come from. Look back on where you want to go. Think about your sons and daughters arising to manhood and womanhood in this country. And let's vote to put in the White House somebody who will move this nation forward. It can be done. It must be done. And by the grace of God, we will do it. Thank you, and God bless you.
And here he is, brothers and sisters, Studs Terkel.
Studs Terkel, Pulitzer Prize-winning author, historian, and radio commentator, was introduced by President Wintersinger as the Ernie Pyle of the labor movement. As we listened, we learned.
You know, Ronald Reagan is president. He was the president of a union, the Screen Actors Guild. At the time he was president, he was Agent T10 for the FBI, in case you don't know that. He squealed, he finked on his fellow union members while he was president of a union. Might as well know who he is. Now, all our lives, we're taught as kids on the block, you beware the snitch, beware the sneak, beware the toady, so we elect him president. The wildest, so basically, that's a lesson, too. Not to be just, the flag is great, the country is great, patriotism is great, but not to use those symbols to knock out issues that deal with men, women, and their lives every day. That's what it's about, too.
Speakers such as Studs Terkel and others were welcomed and inspiring moments in this historic and highly productive convention.
If we do not stay with the system that we got today, which everyone says, program for progress, I pray to God it doesn't become for you, like it did us, a program for survival. And I can tell you one thing, I got 1,600 machinists in Rhode Island that would gladly not only stay with the program for progress, but would pay twice their dues to get back to work down there. Mr. Chairman, I thank you and the executive board and all the delegates for their support.
Thank you very much, brother.
After days of deliberation, discussion, and debate, the delegates themselves became a part of history by strengthening their union in several ways.
Local Lodge 1862 is submitting Proposition 20, found at page 26 of your booklet, in order to amend Article 5, Section 2 of our Constitution.
One constitutional amendment provided an increase in a union strike fund.
Recognize Delegate Mike Creed.
I am living proof. Placid Harbor works. It is a fantastic education. I think Jerry, Steve, all of them do an excellent job. I am definitely in support of Placid Harbor.
Another reaffirmed the union's faith and financial commitment to strengthen its leadership of tomorrow by extending the budget of the IAM Education Center at Placid Harbor, Maryland.
Recognize the delegate at Mike 9.
Some people think that this is a lead into a split. I'm here to tell you that that is not the intention of the Canadian delegates sitting in this convention.
Mr. Chairman, I rise to move the previous question.
The previous question is called for.
And after many years of patient but persistent appeals within this purest example of democracy in our society today, the delegates voted to change the Constitution and allow the Canadian brothers and sisters to elect their own General Vice President.
All those in favor of the committee's report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, and it's so ordered.
History is not only made here, it is reenacted. Airline employees have once again stolen the railroad machinist's historic bell and ransom it for charity.
For what purpose does the delegate at Mike 4 rise?
We, the railroad machinists, founded this great union. We have carried this great union and the bell for the past 100 years. We have allowed those terrorists to steal our bell, have their fun, and ransomed it. No more. You take the 1,000-pound bell and stuff it. It's about time you carried your share.
Thank you, Delegate, and I am certain that our reporters will appropriately expunge the record with certain references in that dissertation.
An important part of the convention's agenda is to chart the IAM's future programs for the next 4 years. This important task requires input from key staff members, detailing the union's activities, which vary from communications to human rights, education and training, from legislative political action to its many social and humanitarian programs.
Join me in a warm welcome for Cheryl McManus and her guide dog, Andy. Cheryl?
So, my brothers and sisters, you can see that if there was any target area that this union was going to pick out to show that it cares and it can do something about, is in the field of individuals with disabilities.
Some of you may know that I'm an epileptic and a handicap, and as a result, do a lot of public service ads and do a lot to try to help out those who are less fortunate, only because people perceive their inability to do things. The fact that your union has taken the lead to make sure that there are jobs available to the handicapped is something that I, in particular, appreciate. And I want to thank you and Wimpy for that.
Being called ugly by Wimpy singers like being called ugly by a frog. For the past 7 years, our government has been preoccupied with the care and feeding of the rich. They've been pushing a pernicious philosophy of greed that says if only we'll make the rich richer, these superior citizens in our society will spend and invest in such a way that even some of their prosperity will trickle down on us poor slobs in the factories and on the farms, in the shops, and out in the streets. Of course, they're not as crude and as blunt as that. They don't put it quite that succinctly. They kind of pretty it up and give it a fancy name. They call it supply-side economics. But it's kind of like putting earrings on a hog. You just can't hide the ugliness that is down under there. It's the same old trickle-down misery we've been through all these years. Ronnie Reagan said, I'm going to get American industry moving again, and he did. It moved to Taiwan, it moved to Japan, it moved to Caribbean, it moved everywhere except right here in this country. Let's tell them all to go to hell in 1988.
Most poor people are not black, they're not brown. As it's projected on the media, they're white, female, and young. So whether white, black, or brown, a hungry baby's belly turned inside out, it's the same color. Color it pain, color it hurt. Most poor people are not on welfare, as Reagan and Bush suggested, and they're not lazy. They work hard every day. They catch the early bus. They work hard every day. They raise other people's children. They work hard every day. They cook their food. They work hard every day. They used to be machinists. They now work in fast food franchises. They work hard every day. They used to be the most productive farmers in the world, and now they are abandoned. They work hard every day. They change beds in hotels. They wear uniforms, and their person is dismissed. They work hard every day. They mop floors in hospitals. They wipe the bodies of those who are sick. They empty their bedpans. They empty their commodes, and when they do so, they get diseases themselves. No job is beneath them, and yet when they get sick, they cannot lie in the bed they've made up every day. But they work hard every day. They need somebody in the White House. I want to shift the balance to reinvest in America, retrain our workers, retool our factories, research and development. Let's put America back to work. Put America back to work.
Well, delegates, we have discussed, debated, deliberated, and resolved the issues before us, and did it in an orderly and democratic way. And that reflects credit on this entire delegation and is a testimonial to the abilities, maturity, and sincere dedication you have brought to this very principled exercise in free trade unionism. All those who have contributed to this great convention have played a premier role in enabling our great institution to maintain a solid footing and launch pad with strong handholds on the future as we commence our climb in our IAM rocket ship for the trip through unknown events, speeding time, and infinite space. Veteran delegates, wily and wise as always, and rookies, all of you together have made my final convention as your chairman a proud and rewarding experience. Too little has been said, perhaps, of those 19 founding fathers of this magnificent union. But if we are to get a sense of meaning from our union, it becomes crucial that we take the time to inspect the links that weld us simultaneously to the past and to the future, to commune with our ancestors and forebears, as well as for our children's impending flights. On a more personal note, this phase of the journey began for me at a headquarters staff meeting convened at 12:01 a.m. on July 1, 1977, a meeting at which I began the process of attempting to lead this great organization in some new directions. Throughout my tenure as your international president, I have consciously, consistently, and I hope conscientiously pursued that goal. And for that, I'll be eternally grateful to each and every one of you and to each and every one of our IAM family. There's a time to be born and a time to die, a time to sow and a time to reap, a time to work and a time to play, a time to speak and a time to listen, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to lead and a time to follow, a time for a new generation to take the controls and guide us determinedly into a promising, if sometimes perilous, future, and a time to step aside.
Giving solidarity a new feeling of hope and faith, Tony Melendez inspired us.
I now declare this 32nd 100th anniversary of the International Association of Aerospace Workers Convention adjourned. Sine die.